And we try to break it down into quarters of our development. You know, initially it's about starting with trust.
Head coach Stan Drayton sat down with us to talk about roster changes and a new identity as the spring season wraps up.
Fans got to see this new team for the first time at the annual Cherry and White game with the offense against the defense.
And I'm Kylie O'Connor, live at Edberg Olson. Later on in the show, I'll be talking about one position that most fans had their eyes on. The Owls are still looking for that starting QB.
I'm Sam Covone, live from the studio set. Coming up, I'll be recapping standout players from Saturday's Cherry and White game, as well as breaking down the 2024 season schedule. It's not as far away as it might seem. The Inside the Nest Cherry and White special is live, and it starts right now.
Hello and welcome to the Cherry and White Inside the Nest special. I'm Jake Gabel alongside Hayden Bandel. It's good to be back in the studio, and it's good that football is back. Well, kind of.
That's right. On Saturday, Temple had its annual Cherry and White spring football game with a completely revamped roster that includes 43 new players picked up during the offseason. The offense was listed as the Cherry team and the defense listed as the White team. Now, before we look at what happened, let's explain how it works. On offense, any explosive play is worth 2 points, while a drive with multiple first downs added another point. The defense got 3 points for a turnover, missed field goal, and fourth down or 2-point conversion stops. Sacks were worth 2 points, and a stop drive or 3 and out was worth another point. 5-yard penalties were 1 point, 10-yard penalties 2, and 15-yard penalties 4. It's a fantasy football player's nightmare. The street fair began right at noon, and it featured a bunch of fun activities for students and fans. Inside of the practice facility, Forrest Brock took the majority of the snaps, and here's one of his 10 completions, good enough for one of those 2-point explosive plays for the offense. With Joquez Smith in motion, it's Tyler Douglas who takes the snap and darts one up the middle of the field. Then later, it's Douglas with a fake handoff over towards the left side, and it creates a huge hole for the redshirt freshman Kyle Williams. A 21-yard run and another 2 points for the Cherry team. Now, let's get a look at some of the defensive plays. DeJuan Black working on the near side of your screen on Chevis Trask and records one of his 6 sacks on the afternoon. Now here's the longest play of the day for the offense, a slant route from Reese Clark and a 36-yard reception. He led all receivers with 5 catches and 87 yards. Now, here's a running touchdown, the lone one of the day, and it's by senior E.J. Wilson, but DeJuan Black and the defense were too much. They take home the 56-41 win.
When it comes to stats, the quarterback with the best day on paper was Brock. For what it's worth, Brock was the first QB to touch the field. 10 for 19, 102 yards, and a touchdown pass to Reese Clark. Defensively, Black terrorized the offense the entire game. 6 sacks and 9 tackles. One of those sacks going for a safety. The Monroe College transfer Sekou Chroma had 2 sacks of his own. You saw a lot of new names in that box score, but one you didn't see was E.J. Warner. The record-breaking quarterback transferred to Rice in the offseason.
Temple's quarterback room now has 5 guys who are all vying for that starting spot. Inside the Nest reporter Kylie O'Connor has more from EO. Hey, Kylie.
Thanks, guys. It was late November when Temple football realized they needed to find its new quarterback. The question everyone wanted to know, who was going to fill that position that was left by E.J. Warner? 5 months of spring practices have wrapped up, and there's still no clear answer. 6 weeks of spring practices, 1 glorified scrimmage, all with 5 quarterbacks on the roster vying for the top spot. But in mid-April, head coach Stan Drayton doesn't appear very close to announcing his number 1 QB to replace E.J. Warner. That fall opener won't be easy for the Owls when they head to Oklahoma to play on national TV.
I don't know if our quarterbacks are ready for that yet. I don't know if I'm ready to say that they're ready for that yet. I think in their mind, what we've learned through their actions, there's not a whole lot of flinching that goes on in their approach. There are days where a couple of weeks actually, where we had the quarterbacks live and they handled the pressure well.
Although no one in the quarterback room stands out to Drayton, the 4 quarterbacks who played Saturday had a chance to show off their talents one more time before the team breaks for summer. Returning junior Forrest Brock completed 53% of his passes and threw 1 touchdown. Redshirt freshman Pat Keller also completed 50% of his passes. Overall, these new quarterbacks completed an average of 47% of their passes and had 211 total yards.
People tend to run away from it. Young people tend to run away from competition. Our quarterbacks are embracing it.
As the fall season opener quickly approaches, this competition for the top spot will continue until someone steps forward to fill some big shoes. Thanks to the many talents displayed at the spring game this past Saturday, head coach Drayton will have a big decision to make in these next few months, figuring out who his starting quarterback is going to be for the 2024 season. Reporting from Edinburgh-Olsen, I'm Kylie O'Connor. Let's send it back to the studio where my colleague Sam Covone is standing by.
Thanks, Kylie. It should come as no surprise that the defense stood out the most during this game. Every defensive player who stepped on the field got a piece of the action, but 2 players stood out. Defensive end DeJuan Black and cornerback Jalen Lewis are worth the spotlight. Black led the team in sacks, getting to the quarterback 6 times, and also recorded 6 tackles for loss. Lewis recorded the only interception of the day and ran it back for 20 yards to secure the victory. Although the defense took the win on Saturday, Coach Drayton said that it has been a back-and-forth battle between these 2 units throughout the spring season, and that competition has benefited both sides of the ball. Reporting from the studio set, I'm Sam Covone. Jake and Hayden, back to you at the desk.
Ultimately, our goal is going to always be to put ourselves in position to compete for an American Conference Championship.
Up next, I sat down for an exclusive one-on-one with Stan Drayton. The third-year head coach talks about goals for the team heading into year 3 and the changes he wants to see after year 2. We'll be back in 90 seconds.
Welcome back. Before the spring football game, we were able to sit down with Coach Drayton as he prepares for his 3rd season as the leader of the Owls.
Coach Drayton talked about getting his player to buy into the culture and the areas of improvement he wants to see after back-to-back 3-9 seasons to start his tenure.
Stan Drayton, pleasure to have you with us today. Really just want to thank you for joining us today, taking time out of your busy schedule.
Thanks for having me.
So heading into your 3rd year as head coach, coming off 2 3-9 seasons, coming into year 3, do you have a specific goal that you want this team to achieve?
Yeah, ultimately our goal is going to always be to put ourselves in position to compete for an American Conference Championship. But there's a whole lot of goals that need to be met prior to that. And we try to break it down into quarters of our development. Initially it's about starting with trust. And that's a forever going thing. But we have to get to a point where we believe in each other, we trust each other, and that's player to player, coach to player, coach to coach. And again, that's something that is not easy to do, but we're starting to see that with the alignment that we have, the intentional approach to practice, the intentional approach to classes, things that we ask of our guys within our culture. Our guys are starting to buy into that. So it's exciting. That's one of our main goals before we reach a championship status.
And then just coming off of last season, having time to, reflect, watch film, digest it a little bit, was there any certain area where you're like, I want to improve, or a certain area where you're like, I liked how we did this, we need to continue this?
Yeah, absolutely. We need to improve on everything. We needed to get some talent in here. We needed to get some depth. I thought we did a great job in this recruiting cycle, being able to build depth, especially in the O-line, D-line. A lot of our guys who played last year that were freshmen, again, we played the 2nd most amount of freshmen than anybody else in the country. They got their butts kicked a little bit last year, but they're going to benefit from that. The next time they get on the big stage, it should be no flinch about their business. I love the way we've approached this offseason that way with the guys who are newcomers to our football team, guys who have been already currently on our roster. The mindset has changed, and so As far as what we want to continue to improve on, is really everything. You know, every year is a brand new football team, right? And to look in the rearview mirror is not fair to this year's football team.
Right.
Okay, so just from a cultural standpoint, there were some things that we had to readjust. I love the way our players are buying into it. So we're definitely on our way in the right direction.
That was part one of our interview with Stan Drayton. In part two, Drayton addresses the elephant in the room, or should I say the elephant no longer in the room, star quarterback E.J. Warner transferring and the battle to replace him as the starting QB.
From the outside looking in, obviously, E.J. Warner transferring out. What does this new quarterback room look like right now, and how have you seen them progress during this spring?
Yeah, very competitive. You know, E.J. was a good football player for us, no doubt. The set of quarterbacks that we have in our program now bring a totally different skill set to the table, which means that we have to make sure that we can form our offense around their skill set. The one thing I love about that position right now is that it's very, very competitive. All right, with competition in position rooms means that players get better if they buy into it the right way. So we're excited about the quarterbacks. We're still in that competition phase right now. We're not going to anoint anybody to start in position, but we're just going to keep it wide open. And I love the way the quarterbacks have approached every day that way.
And then with a lot of single digits either leaving, graduating, or transferring out, Ian Stewart, the only one remaining from last year's squad. Have you seen anyone besides Ian sort of step up as a leader during this spring?
Yeah, we're seeing traits of a lot of guys that are stepping up in that role, you know, and it's funny, a lot of our newcomers are trying to step up into that role. And I got to be very careful as a head football coach, right? There hadn't been enough time to get to know truly who they are. We've created some adverse situations in practice to try to bring out their personalities, to try to bring out truly who they are so that we can learn how they respond in tough situations, how they handle success in that respect as well. All right, so for me to sit there and say, I know who the single digits are at this point, there hasn't been enough time. But there has been a bunch of traits of guys showing leadership, holding people accountable, showing courage in that respect, that they're holding their teammates accountable, and it's exciting.
And I know we're ways away from week one right now, but against Oklahoma, a team that was ranked last year, now being moved to a Friday night game, being a nationally televised game, just what does that mean for, one, the program, and then two, the guys going out there on the field?
Well, any opportunity that we have to get the Temple brand out to the country, the world, is awesome. This is an awesome place, you know, and I think people need to know it. You know, this is a great institution that has a high tier level of education. We have an unbelievable market here in Philadelphia. We're a school that represents the community here in Philadelphia, and we have to take pride in that. And we have an opportunity to put that on display against a strong, you know, SEC football program in Oklahoma, who also has tradition and an unbelievable brand for themselves. So, no, we're just going to take advantage of the opportunity. You know, we're Temple. We'll play anybody, anywhere. And but again, to have that opportunity to do it Friday night on a national stage is special for us, and we're going to take full advantage of that.
To me, the biggest thing that stood out from that interview with Coach Drayton was his commitment to the culture change that he wants to implement, as well as the emphasis on brotherhood and buying into that new program style.
Yeah, it's interesting because he even said himself that he doesn't truly know everyone on this team. And it's interesting because they brought in all these players, 43 new guys to the program this offseason, and it's why he doesn't know who he wants to immerse as those single digits thus far.
And then it wasn't during the interview, but after the game, he talked about setting up bonding events for these players to get to know each other better, get to know their why. Why do they want to play football? Who are they playing it for? He feels like if you have that brotherhood bond and you know who's next to you and you care about them just a little bit more, it's going to make you play harder on that field.
Yeah, and then being on the field, he did say that they have to improve on everything. He said that word for word. But it's also not fair to say that about this team because there's a bunch of new guys coming in.
Of course, and we again want to thank head coach Stan Drayton for taking the time to talk to us as we head up onto another break.
Coming up, Coach wasn't the only guy we talked to. I sat down with defensive tackle Demarick Morris. More insight on spring football and the 2024 season from a player's point of view. Coming up.
Welcome back to the Cherry and White Inside the Nest special. The Owls are almost a completely new team thanks to graduation and, of course, the portal. But there are some holdovers from 2023. Prior to the game, we got the chance to talk with one of those returning players in defensive tackle Demarick Morris.
The redshirt junior has seen a flurry of different coaches, but still has a lot of goals that he wants to achieve with his time remaining. Going back to Temple, new head coach, new defensive coordinator, new defensive tackle coach, defensive line coach. Since you came to campus in 2020, what kind of made you want to stay with the program?
I see a lot of things here that gotta be improved and gotta be better. So I just stayed because I can help fix those things as a player, to help player-led team kind of boost this year up for us, so we were able to compete at the level that we want to. So the reason I stayed is just because I trust in the program and I trust in Coach Drayton. So
kind of like in spews, like the team from this year, what do you see about them that's different from the other years you've been here?
I see the competitiveness, like level is through the roof. Everybody's more chippy, is more everything. Like, we got something on our shoulder. We got something to prove this year. So we just gonna be humbly quiet and work hard as we do every single day without talking.
Now, going to go back to about a year ago from today when you suffered a leg injury in practice. Can you just take me what that was like?
Came out, practice, had a big time foot injury. So, it kind of set me back at first. Kind of had me thinking about a lot of things, second guessing things, debating whether football, was it for me, So I kind of just put my trust in God, put my trust in Coach Drayton and the training staff, and fully came in every single day with a good mindset to get healthier and healthier. And here I am now, going full speed. So I'm grateful right now. So.
Who would you say helped you the most just to get through that stressful time?
I would say the whole staff and the whole team. I can't really say individuals because everybody was there. Everybody helped pick me up. Everybody helped, with anything I needed. If I needed to get to a certain location, guys helped me. So everybody played a big role in that. So I'm not just going to single out people.
And you did get into a couple of games at the end of the year, but for most of the year on the sidelines watching, did you kind of take a step up as a leader?
Yeah, I kind of started to look at the game differently. I started watching more film, being more closer with the guys. I know I couldn't travel with the guys at first, after surgery, but, I was kind of just keeping in contact with the guys, making sure that I came out, watched practice, watched the film, extra meetings that we had, came in and watched it with them just to help, Coach Knight, coach the guys and be around the guys. So that's all my main focus was when I got hurt.
And doing all of that is something. That was part one of our interview with Demarick Morris. In part two, he talks about competing against his teammates in practice and what it takes to put Temple back into the conference race. Well, that is something. Is achieving the single digit a goal of yours this year?
Yeah, but my first goal is to get a championship. That's the first thing. Single digits good, that looks good, but I just want to work hard first. I want to prove to my teammates and to the staff that I'm worthy of that, or I'm worthy of being a great role model on this team.
What kind of individual goals did you set for yourself just coming into the spring?
Just to stay consistent, keep my motor high, play hard, finish, and even when I'm tired, just compete and straining and giving everything I got every single play for my guys on the field.
And with Kevin Bethwick, the new defensive lineman coach, what have you kind of learned from him?
I learned a lot from him coming in. He's a very young coach, so he's very open-minded. He's a very good pass rush coach and run stop coach. So, just coming in, learning his technique, learning, taking the coaching, trying to apply it to the field at the same time as he coming in. So that's not a big easy thing to do, So it's just we just gotta learn how to adjust to coaching and just taking it and putting it on the field in a positive way.
Going up against the offensive linemen and the running backs, what have you seen from that group thus far in the spring?
They're a lot physical. They're a lot smarter. We got a lot of new guys in, a lot of new transfers in, so they play a lot of key important roles on the offensive line. We got a lot of good running backs that came in from the portal that we got. We got Singleton. We got a lot of guys like that stepped up and played big roles this spring and is continuing to show that they are proven to be here. So.
Now, when you are kind of ramping up towards this season, what is the expectations that you have just for the team in general? I know you said like conference championship, but what are the small goals that you have to take to get towards that?
Really just competing every single play. That's what it comes down to. Every single play, one play at a time. If you make a mistake, let it go, move to the next play, and just as a team to just if we make a mistake, just go full speed, and that's how you correct it. So that's what we trying to do right now.
And then you rock the number. Morris did suffer an arm injury early in the spring game. Coach Drayton said there was no update following the game and said they are hoping it is just a minor setback.
We are up on our final break of the day. When we return, our very own Sam Covone breaks down next season's schedule. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Cherry and White Inside the Nest special. Temple has 3 teams on its schedule that the Owls have never played before this year.
We send it back over to Sam Covone at the studio set to take a deeper look at the 2024 schedule. Hey, Sam.
Hey, guys. The 2024 schedule is quickly approaching, with the season kicking off in Norman, Oklahoma, behind the bright Friday night lights. The game will take place on August 30th at 7 p.m. This matchup will mark the first time that the Owls and the Sooners have met since 1942. The Owls have their first conference game of the season against Navy on September 7th. And like Hayden mentioned before, there are 3 teams that Temple will play against for the first time. Week 3 against Coastal Carolina, Week 4 against Utah State, and then Week 11 in a conference game against FAU. Looking ahead to Week 6, the Owls will face UConn in the Huskies territory. Temple currently holds a 2-game winning streak against UConn, dating back to the pair's last game in 2019. To end the last 6 weeks of the season, it is all conference play versus Tulsa, ECU, Tulane, FAU, UTSA, and North Texas at home on November 30th. With a new roster, new coaches, 8 conference matchups, and new teams to play, it is shaping up to be an eventful season. That's all I have for this show. Jake and Hayden, what matchups are you guys most excited for?
Thanks, Sam. The matchup I'm most excited for is the Owls' final non-conference matchup against the UConn Huskies. This is a team that had just 1 home win last year. Temple is going to be going into UConn, where they haven't won on the road under Stan Drayton. This is a UConn team that only home win was against an FCS opponent, so that could be a very interesting storyline. Then we also look at it, they also were 3-9 last year, just like Temple. Third-year head coach and Jim Mora. They're bringing in a new defensive coordinator, Matt Brock, from Mississippi State, and they lost a lot of transfers just like Temple. Their 2 leading receivers, as well as their best defensive player.
Well, Hayden, my game to watch is right before yours when Temple takes on Army. Army joins the American Athletic Conference and will be the Owls' 2nd conference game of the season. Last season, the Black Knights went 6-6 overall, beating the 2 AAC opponents that they faced, UTSA and Navy. Starting quarterback Bryson Daly led the team in rushing by a wide margin, rushing for 900 yards, as well as getting into the end zone with his legs 7 different times. That does it for our Cherry and White special. The next time you'll see Inside the Nest will be in the fall with Hayden Bandel and Sam Covone as your 2 new anchors.
For now, this court is adjourned. Sorry, that's the wrong show. Inside the Nest will be back in the fall. So for now, thanks for watching and have a great day.